All right, so I guess we're live now. I guess this is what it is. Does that sound okay? Hope so. Here, let me just find some things. I don't even know if this is going to be saved afterwards, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so we're going to start from the beginning here. I'm going to just imagine that this is not saved at all. This is just, it is what it is. So, good day to you. This is the first time I'm going to do a live. I think it's going to go great. We'll see what happens. And, all right, so we're going to fold what I call the Pentagonal Crown. It's this very beautiful design. Let me go get it for you. I have several lying around here in the studio. The shape results in a sort of volumetric thing. It's about getting a pentagon and then trying to get these kinds of shapes. Pretty much. It's just a sort of a twist on the idea. You can then, craft it into all sorts of different volumetric solutions. That's the idea. It's a pretty cool little thing. It fits very nicely together with all sorts of pentagonal references. So let's say you have a rectangular piece of paper. Let's just say that you have this. So you're going to turn this into a square first and foremost. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fold this rectangle into a square. From it, I will extract the pentagon, and from that pentagon, we will fold the crown. So first off, I'm putting my short edge on the long edge and taking away that rectangle. That is not part of my square. That is, wherever the paper is not part of the short edge, that we will fold away. What I like to do to fold the cut is just really, really drive my nail in there. Drive my nail, I fold one way, I fold the other, and I just really just get in there, man. Once that's done, once this line is creased both ways, now it's weakened. And what's fun to do things like this, the fun thing about these kinds of folds is that with very minimal effort, this thing just kind of goes back and forth and back and forth. I'm just noticing that perhaps it's weird. The camera is mirrored. My right side is on the left. I wonder why that is. It's so weird. This is my right hand. Funny. It's going to look like I'm left-handed. That's funny. Anyway, we have this. Now we fold in the middle. This is a very crucial fold. It's important to do this one correctly. If any fold's going to go right, it should be this fold. All the other folds, it's a give and take. I'm kidding. So you have your paper fold like that. If, in the case that you were actually folding a rectangle like I was and you have this line, then what you're going to do next is do a fold that goes from that point to this point, right? From the midpoint of the edge, from the midpoint of the square to the top corner of it. But what you want is that you want your triangle to have this line in. It's very useful to have this line in there. So just make sure that, well, if you don't have that diagonal, I recommend that you do get that diagonal, or at least part of it, You don't have to go the full way, but you just have to have it at least within this triangle. But, up to you. So then I'm making sure that it goes from this corner up to the other corner. So we have this triangle, this 2 to 1, that's 1, and that's 2. This is double of what this is. I'm going to bisect this corner and bisect this corner in order to do a rabbit ear. So I'm going to combine all three folds, the one that goes, all three bisections of the triangle. This is what actually enables us to do the rabbit ear, right? This angle gets bisected, and then this angle gets bisected. So you want to make sure, again, just your edges are lining up. Everything is just according to plan. So it goes there, goes there. This goes here. And the idea now is to combine these three folds, to combine this fold with this fold, right? So we get what's called an in-center. It's one bisection here, one bisection there, and one bisection here. So we have these three lines that are bisecting, right? So when we activate those three folds simultaneously, you're going to see that I'm pinching this, folding this. And so I fold all three at the same time. And I'm going to create a new fold. It's a fold that activates the rabbit ear. Now, you want this point to be facing, dude, I'm having a hard time with this fucking orientation thing. No, advertisers, don't take away my money. All right, so the idea is that this point, falls toward the, I guess both of these are acute, but like the wider angle of these two. So it goes toward this side. This little flappy thing. That's the rabbit ear. Looked at it from the side. Looks like that. So we open this up. I'm going to turn it over because the fold that we were wanting to get is this. It's the one that goes from that in center and goes perpendicularity. And it goes perpendicular, that's just like that, toward the edge there. So now we activate this fold. This fold is the one that we choose to activate. So I fold it and I just extend it. Now, because of certain things, this thing might, of course, deviate, but you can always just make sure that you're going right when this top edge is lining up to that edge and this edge is lining up to this edge. So we fold those, fold in half. Now we copy this fold that we did, this one. I wonder if I actually can change the settings so that this is inverted, because it's really weird to turn to the camera and my right is my left is my right. That's funky. So I'm copying this amount over to the other side. So it goes off like that, right? So now we have these two. So this same amount is copied over to the other side, the same distance. These two are the same because we can fold them together and we see that they match, right? That's the general idea. These two match. So now what I'm going to do is use one as a pivot and the other as an anchor, I like to say. So the pivot moves around and the anchor stays put. Actually, I'm going to change my mind. This is going to be the anchor. And this is the pivot. So then the anchor is the one that moves around. No, the pivot is the one that moves around and the anchor stays put. So this is my anchor and this is my pivot. And so the pivot, that point right there, is set up to fall on the edge. So it falls on the edge. And I just make sure that that goes just off straight like that. So here, notice that it is, let me get a range, god damn it, here. That point hitting on the edge, this point hitting on where we folded. We repeat the process on the other side. And of course, we're going to have this mutual point of contact in the center because they are the same distance and we are applying the same thing to both of them. Therefore, I have this mutual point there in the middle. And here you see that point is there. That's my pivot. And here's my anchor. So they changed definitions. Now what was my anchor is now my pivot. What was the pivot is now the anchor. So now we have this. And we're going to activate this in terms of this triangle. So this is what the next objective. We're going to take this triangle and copy it using this point as a center. That's going to be the idea. So what I'm going to do is fold this line as a mountain and these two as valleys. So activate the first valley, goes off like this. That's the midline. That's what I'm going to, on this side is going to look like a valley. On the other side is going to look like a mountain. And then activates and folds and we get this shape. So it's almost as if we're inside reverse folding this triangle, right? That's the general idea. So that folds down and then we have this little flap thing and that we pivoted. Not pivoted. This is more like what I call a hinge move because it's all contained like this. And once you activate, it looks like this. It's different to a rabbit ear. This is more like a hinge, I like to say. So we get this hinge move and then we see that that point is on the edge as the condition we established said before. Whoa. So this is the center. I should really like put some scotch tape on here just to get in frame, dude. Just to stay in frame. So we do that for one side and we unfold. We turn over and we repeat the same hinge move. And if we did this correctly, that vertex that we landed will fall on the edge and this line will extend on this midline, like so. So now we have those, and now we get this that I call the fox face, which is pretty much the triangle that we wanted, just sort of extract it for us. We can actually move it in space. We can actually just select it. This is a triangle that we want to copy around. So I take this fox face looking thing. I put the fox face first on the ground. It's almost like it's hunting for a mouse under the snow, hits. And then I open up the fox body. This is where the metaphor sort of comes apart. And I'm just going to lay it down. Like this fold I already had. So I lay it down and I get this new fold, this one right here. And as you can see, if we did this correctly, this is going to land exactly on the edge underneath. And you have two options here. You can either just go for the next one and just repeat this. And you're going to see that that also lands like this extension minus whatever the fox face is, and that just falls right there on it. So now we combine those two folds. These two in the middle are mountains, and so they could turn to valleys, and that twists one way. And then it twists the other. And this is how we get a pentagon, because now everything that's after this line is not a pentagon. So everything after this line is not a pentagon, but everything underneath is. Because we have this triangle, and it's rotated around 5 times, right? We have this 5-fold symmetry from the center. We call n-fold. This is a 5-fold. And what's cool about this method is that we actually get an exact construction. If we maintain our hand, we get steady and we get what we need, then yes, this will be an exact pentagon, which is a little better and different than what we're used to in the origami world with folding pentagons, usually an approximation, but this is as exact as you can get. This is by Kunihiro Kasahara, this method, by the way. So I'm going to just outline the lines of symmetry here. So we have this triangle that we already inscribed on the other side. We now have this line that goes off up to the edge. We have this line that goes off up into the edge, and this one that just goes up into the ceiling, like so. So we have this 5-fold symmetry. Now I'm going to take this remainder and this remainder as well. I'm going to place them exactly on this line. I'm just going to take this line and fold it so it lands on this. And here's the interesting thing about that. Once I do it, so I fold that onto the line. One of the phenomena that catches my eye every single time I do this is that when you do this fold, this line will actually fall on itself. And if you're a practitioner of origami, you know what that means. It means that this fold that we just got, this one right here, in relation to this line, that's a perpendicular line. So this is a pentagon edge, and it's lined up exactly on the edge of the square. So we constructed this. We got the bottom part of this pentagon. And so this construction, what it does is that it finds the pentagon which has vertices on the floor of the square, and the arms of the pentagon, if you look at it as this is the feet, the arms, and the head, the arms and the feet are all touching the edges of the square. All these 4 points are on the edge of the square. Of course, this one isn't, because all odd numbers, if they fulfill this description, they will not land anywhere near. Actually, as we approximate infinity, this line will actually meet there, as our polygon becomes infinite, becomes a circle pretty much. Even an odd sort of meet in infinity. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other side, and of course, they should have a mutual point of contact there. So I'm going to just write that in. Now we fold the line that goes from this point over to that point. And here, the reasoning behind my fold is that, well, there's a little deviance for you. This is what I call a temptation. It's going to seem like this point falls on the line, on this intersection, and it doesn't. It's a temptation. I wouldn't be led by it. What I am focusing on is that this line falls on itself and that it goes through this point. That's what I'm focusing on, that it goes through this point to fold. Of course, it's going to hit on there. So you can also do it like that. Just fold the line that goes from this point over to here. That's another way to do it. Guatemala, saludos. Aroni. ¿Qué dice? Aquí estamos. Sí, debería hacer eso también en español, ¿verdad? So sí, yeah, so we're a bilingual channel, I guess. We should do more in Spanish and English things. Deberíamos hacer más cosas en español. ¿Qué tal se escucha? ¿Se escucha bien mínimo así la calidad de sonido o estamos así de lejos? Ya ni sé, güey. ¿Dónde están los detalles aquí? Ya ni siquiera, nada más quiero estar seguro de que... Ah, gracias, no manches. Allow live chat to replay. No sé qué es esto. Ya le ando moviendo aquí detalles. No, pues, quién sabe. Vamos a suponer que escucha bien. Bueno. We have this Pentagon now. Ah, excelente. Gracias, muchas gracias. Sí, no, me puse a grabar esto en Zoom. En Zoom, y luego de Zoom lo iba a hacer un video y luego del Zoom lo iba a pasar para acá y nada, pues ya mucha vuelta, mejor directo a YouTube. Si se trata de YouTube, pues ya que se va directo a YouTube. Pues ya. Y como no puedo instalar el OBS para hacer como más profesional el stream o lo que fuera, porque mi computadora es muy vieja, mínimo al parecer sí puedo poner mi webcam. So we're here. We got this Pentagon. This is what we wanted. So I'm going to cut everything that's not a Pentagon. Vamos a cortar el pentágono aquí. Este método, por cierto, lo puedes encontrar en el... Bueno, una manera de hacer este método, porque yo le agrego como pasos y maneras de doblar y todo, pero este es un libro de Kunihiro Kasahara. No me acuerdo cuál era el nombre del libro, pero curiosamente, bueno, lo tengo digital el libro. Y el título del libro está en español, del PDF. El título del PDF está en español, pero el contenido todo es en japonés. Todas las palabras del libro están en japonés, pero el título del libro está en español. El PDF, por alguna razón. So we have that, and so I'm doing the same thing we did for the square, right? Just folding everything towards the back, just both ways so that these folds are weakened and the fibers are more, easy to come off. So I fold that. We're going to take all this away. So this is like a double lesson here. We're getting a pentagon. Oh, shit. And we're also getting a crown. So you gotta be real careful here. Whoop. Cut. I cut, and there we go. Okay, so now we have a pentagon. So now we can actually start. Así vamos a poder empezar. So with our pentagon, now we're going to inscribe just two stars, two very elemental, simple stars. The 5-2, the pentagram, and then the 5-2 nested inside of it. So yeah, first off, we got our pentagon. That's beautiful. That's nice. And now we're going to fold this line, right, from corner to corner. I like to have this so that the lines that are drawn in are mountains. I don't know how much this is actually a true reference. I don't know how much this actually is landing on that line. I don't know. What's nice about this, lo divertido de doblar este pentagrama, es de que estas dos líneas van a empatar. Va a ser una trisección. This is a trisection, which is a beautiful thing about the pentagram. That these three angles are the same. This angle right there, same as this angle, same as that angle. It's a beautiful thing. I love it. It's even like actually a fun little exercise if you're more mathematically inclined. And it's also fun to sort of follow around the fold. So it goes like this, goes off like this, so where it's going to go next, right there. Because this point, this intersection actually becomes the reference, like this point right there. This intersection of the pentagram line with the midline, that's where this vertex lands. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Again, same thing, same point over there. Vamos a hacer punto y 5, that's 5. We can even learn Spanish, no? We can have a little lesson of counting in Spanish. 1, 2, 3, 4 y 5. 5. And so now we're going to actually use this pentagram line as a reference. As you can see, we have, the same amount of people. Well, we have 6 people now, right? Not right on, man. Right? Hope you guys are enjoying this or something. Getting out of it. So we have pentagram line. Use it as a reference now. What I mean by that is that our pentagram line, this line, is actually parallel to the edge line, which is a nice little reference for us. So we're going to take this edge line and put it on the pentagram line. This is usually called a diagonal line of a pentagon. You know, and a square diagonal line goes through the center, and the pentagon, the diagonal doesn't, right? It's a star line, it's a 5-2 line. We get into the 5-2, what that means, but all you have to know is that it's just a pentagram located at the vertices. So here's a fun little fact. If we actually use this as a reference for the next star like this, you can even see that that is actually like matching, which is pretty cool. It's a little rhombus looking shape there. It's actually sort of the basis for some Islamic patterns down the line. You can check that out. But we're going to repeat this process, right? We're going to use each edge and match that to the pentagram line. So pentagram line, edge, and we put it up to there. And we just repeat and do this little mechanical algorithmic process. You can let your mind sort of drift. You can think about the things you want to do after you're done, or what you're going to do, use this for. You can just think, do nothing. Let your mind wander, and your hands do the talking. Entonces lo que estoy haciendo es llevar la pared del pentágono a la línea del pentagrama, y interesantemente la línea que me da, de hecho, conecta con el punto medio de la pared. So you have this beautiful relationship here between the midpoint of the pentagram, the pentagon rather, and the nested star. You see that it goes just right inside of the star. And this is all we need. This is all we need for the crown. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Actually, we can do one more fold that's going to help us. We're going to have, I'm just going to write in these lines because I love them. When also, you're going to see how I usually draw my patterns onto these things. I use the fold as a ruler. It's a great way of just not using rulers and still getting straight lines, just using that. So I'm sort of like pushing the pencil a little bit onto the fold. And, you know, this way you can actually get pretty accurate drafting without having to use any tools, really. And in my experience, I get more accurate results using the fold than using rulers. Because rulers, you have to sort of match around, you know what I mean? You have to be sure that you're on the right reference, and when you fold, you're just drawing in the fold, and that's it. Although it does have to be a valley for this process to sort of really work. So you're going to see that we have these rhombs that are on the outside. So what I'm going to do is just really simple fold, just put that corner on the intersection there of the pentagram. Also a very beautiful thing. You guys ever see that short, the Disney short, that Donald in Math Magic Land? You ever see that? Donald kind of like stumbles into this world. He's dressed as a fucking, he's dressed like a hunter, like some English hunter or something, like, you know, the Tarzan movie, like that getup. He has the hat and shit. He's like in Africa or something. He finds a number or some equation, something, and he just follows it down this hole. It's very Alice in Wonderlandy. Anyway, they have this cute animation there right near the beginning where he goes to meet Pythagoras. And they had this animation of how the pentagram is sort of related to itself, the self-similarity it has. So here what I'm doing is getting that first star, but I'm going to use this line now as a reference. This is going to be my mountain. So we have this line as a valley, and this line as a valley, this line of the stars a valley, and this line of the stars a valley. And then this one's going to be the mountain. So also we're going to grab that and just fold it like that, like in a spiral. If you're into the origami twist and kind of thing, this is very familiar. So now this compresses like so. Just got to make sure that everything is just lined up properly. We get this shape. Just a lot like Robert Lang's kind of, you guys ever see that video of him where he goes like this, where he kind of like has this spiral looking thing. He just kind of like pulls on it and up it goes. You can do this with this. I mean, you can keep going, make a smaller pentagram and do the same process, and it's actually going to spin. This line actually will have more area to sort of swirl around in, which is actually pretty cool. But we're going to do the basic one right now. So we have this shape. And now here's a fun little factoid. We're going to use that fold. You see that? I don't know if you can see that. You can't, goddamn. But it's this line right there. It's one of the rhumb lines that we mark, one of these lines, right? But the idea now is to just match this corner over to here. And it's actually going to match. I don't know what this inversion is pretty, it's kind of a mind bend, but that's the idea. You see how this matches to that point. Well, 1, 2. that there. By the way, this is inverted, so what you're seeing as my left hand is actually my right hand, I think. Or is this just mirrored for me on the preview? I don't know. But I'm going to do that for all. So I'm actually unfolding, letting it breathe a little bit. I just exclude that area that I want, and I'm just going to do this for all of them. I think this is the easier route. At least after I'm done inscribing the folds, which I already have I already have part of that folded in. It's going to be a lot easier to just activate the final shape. So we have all these. Now this comes down and it's tucked underneath this layer. So that's tucked, and we pull it up, and so now we fold the other one. That gets tucked. Oh, shit. The next one. Gets tucked, fold. There it is. And so everything is just tightly bound and hugged. Everything is just hugging itself. And so we have this shape now. And this is, good enough, I guess, for a little design. I mean, you can pull these out a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like fold these back, get a little bit of a thing happening here with these excesses, which actually look nice also when you fold them the other way and have them be. So I'm just going to fold them back first, and then we're going to turn them over, see how we do. So now these, you can actually put them the other way. And instead of having them be folded down, you can have them be partially just as a little ceiling there. And the negative spaces looks really good because you get to see this pentagram star also. But here's the next little step of this thing. If you want to go for the next step, of course. The idea now is to have a star there. It looks like a little orange squeeze thing, one of those. So we need to undo the bounding a little bit just to give it some space to breathe for us to shape it. So here's how that works. We get this, we open it up a little bit. And now instead of having the point of contact be here, the point of contact is going to be here at the midpoint. Well, I don't know if you can see that, but there. So I'm going to push this up on that point. It's going to look like this. So as you can see, this line just hits and then bounces back. So now when we crunch it, this stays risen. But everything else is the same. So once that's set up, then we can try and tuck all of these back again. So that gets tucked. This gets tucked, and all of them get tucked. And of course, we can just give a little more shaping, get things into position, make things look nice. Pop them, lock them. Let me get this little shape. So folds there, goes up. Y ahí lo tienen. So that's the crown, pretty much. Let's see how this looks if we fold these down now. Yeah, I don't think it works as well since this sort of has to go. Actually, we would be able to sort of extend these, give a little more shape. Yeah, it looks way better. So we kind of just like pull on these on the back. So what I did was I kind of just went all the way out to that. And in a way, that's more stable than it would be otherwise. I think that that actually works really, really well for stability. So he just kind of wants to do that already. So you just give it, just go the way it wants to go kind of thing. And then you get like this cool orange squeeze shape, which is nice. I think it's a really dynamic figure, gets you a lot of interesting kind of shadows. Oh, thanks, man. And also, if you want to go really super duper crazy, you can actually make this pentagon is sort of squeezing, we can pop it. So I'm using my finger there inside of it, right? To shape so that instead of it being like the squeeze, I can just pop it back and pop it. You can even see that I'm sort of focusing on the points of contact there of the pencil lines. And, you know, this kind of takes a little bit more of some give and take on this. But, you know, maybe this isn't the best way because it needs sort of that rise. It needs that rise for it not to be a little bit too tight. So you see how some of the buckles there are sort of giving way because this is just too much pressure being exerted toward the sides now. But perhaps we can actually find some arrangement where this is possible. Let us see. Let us find out. So how's your week going, guys? You guys, oh, it's Monday. Holy shit. I see that a lot of people on YouTube don't like to curse. Some do, some don't. I don't know. I don't get why not, because it's supposed to be like a teen website. It's supposed to be, hey, you're a kid, you shouldn't be on here. Or something like that. I don't know. But then the advertisers, whatever. I don't get no money. This isn't monetized. This is just me cynically thinking that I might be gone soon or something like that, you know, something like I will not be able to share this forever, so I might as well share it while I can. But then there are responsibilities being avoided. There is time being devoted to this. So that's why we have a Patreon page, and that's sort of where a lot of the needs that are had or met, I guess, that and selling art pieces. But dude, it's just crazy, man. It's just crazy to have like no ambition of saving, no ambition of owning anything really, just having just day by day folding paper. I think that's, I don't know, it's weird to me, but it's fun, I guess. It's strange. It's definitely strange. But yeah, so sharing is caring, and I care. So here you go. So aquí lo tenemos, la corona pentagonal, que parece como una cosa de naranjas para ir a aplastar tus naranjas. That's cool. So yeah, that's the Pentagon Crown for you. Let me see if I can hold it in such a way that I can get a nice little screenshot. This is my left hand. I don't know why does it look like my left hand? It looks like my right hand. That's crazy. Something like, get a screenshot of this. Something like that, yeah. I might favor actually this side a little bit more. This looks kind of weird. See that it goes deep. A little perspective game on there. Also easier to kind of hold. I don't know. Cool little design. By the way, this is a general design that applies to any polygon. Any polygon, you can apply this sort of game to it. But the deal is that it gets trickier as you go higher up the hierarchy, higher up the amount of polygons in order to get this little harmony happening, this little tuck. It changes, it varies. It's always a different kind of approach, but it's fun to try and figure that out. I find that usually it's a trick of letting go of the dogma of grids. It's more to do with angles and the interaction of bisections and whatnot, and doing all these different things to the division of angles. So it's not always in half, though. For instance, this is more of a trisecting thing. But because everything is just so well related, we don't really think of it as a trisection. We can think of just some angle that we're bisecting. We don't even think of the trisection. But if you want to go for a septagon, a heptagon, then you would have to quintisect, which then becomes, yeah, it's a different kind of ordeal. Looks like left hand. Yeah. Oh, damn. So it's just the preview for me. That's interesting. So that's interesting. All right, I'll take that into account. That's funny. Okay, guys. So I think we'll leave it at that for today. So thank you all for joining. Hope you enjoyed it. Have fun making your crown, making your pentagons. Here I have one that I was folding before, and I'm gonna cut this up and try and figure out, I don't know, some other design for it. Well, yeah, the other thing that you can do is get one of these rectangles. This is very useful for Islamic patterns. So let's say you have this. If you cut off a rectangle at that point of contact there, like this line goes up all the way, then you have a very special kind of rectangle. I usually denote these rectangles by the angle done at the diagonal line. So if I fold this rectangle right here, I would describe this rectangle not by the ratio of the sides. I would describe this rectangle by the angle done here. In this case, not all rectangles do this. Not all rectangles are like this special, but I would catalog it by this angle. So, we could do a little trick, a little math on this to try and find out what it is. So let's go ahead and do that as a little exercise before we leave. I'll leave you with some of that. So yeah, constancy, it's about constancy, right? Okay, so we have that point, and we have that point that is a 5-fold symmetry at some center, right? Just at some point that there's a 5-fold symmetry. So we have that this angle, well, I'm gonna write this angle first, but this angle, because these two triangles are actually a division of a pentagon, we can say that angle is 2 pi over 5. Now, why is that 2 pi over 5? I get that question quite a bit. So a circle is 2 pi. 2 pi radians, of course, 2 pi radians. Oh, damn, I hope this is actually properly inverted and not looking backwards. That's interesting if it does. So yeah, 2 pi radians, center, and so we have that this is split into 5 equal, they're all equal. 5 equal slices. So if this is a 2 pi, then each slice is going to be, well, a fifth of that. So this is going to be like 2 pi over 5 because that's a fifth of the full circle. So that's that angle. All right, that's good. Well, this angle we can actually bisect by that line, by the line of symmetry. So now this angle is going to be half of this. So in order to get halves, we write whatever fraction that we're working on, and we multiply this by a half. So we get 2 pi over 10. And that's what that angle is. So that's 2 pi over 10. This is our right angle. So our right angle is half of pi, and we're working a denominator of 10. So then this angle is 5 pi over 10. And, according to Euclidean geometry, the sum of the angles of a triangle will be equal to pi, or half a circle, or half a turn, whatever you want to call it, pi radians, just these two. So 5 plus 2, that's 7. So then this angle has to be 3 pi over 10. So I would call this rectangle the 3 pi over 10 diagonal. That's what I would call this rectangle, the 3 pi over 10 diagonal. Because this angle that's right there at the bottom goes off to the other corner, has an angle of 3 pi over 10. Now, not all special rectangles carry this property that they work just like this. Some rectangles that you fold for Islamic patterns and whatnot actually have several lines. They don't actually go from one point to the other corner. They have some extension either on here or to the other side or whatever. So this isn't that good a cataloging technique, perhaps, maybe. Here, let's cut this one out. Let's actually extract this. Let's play around with it a little bit. I said we were gonna go, but I guess we're not done yet. This is addictive, dude. This is my way of not working. This is my way of not fulfilling my responsibilities. Just kind of folding for for 4 people. It'd be nice if I actually had some noble ambition of wanting to, just teach people this thing, but it's also just, it is that, but it's not, I don't know. It's just definitely very consuming. It requires a lot of attention. It requires a lot of concentration and follow through. And also I think that some of these lessons are fairly complex. And also I'm speaking in English when I should be speaking in Spanish. Well, I shouldn't be doing anything. So there's no should or shouldn't. So now we have this rectangle. That pertains to fivefold symmetry. You can actually play around with it a little bit. You can see that this sort of goes off in both ways. We have this. So now I would actually like to pull up some of my diagrams to see what kind of pattern we can inscribe into this, if at all, or perhaps we can try and do a modular out of this, just by virtue of this line, virtue of the other line. Well, this is 3 pi, we can't just bisect. We can bisect this one though. This one we can bisect. We can bisect this. By virtue of that, we can bisect this. Here we have sort of a fold that's happening there on both sides. I guess we can extract that. Let's see what happens if we apply it on both sides. Maybe this is a modular design, I don't know. So I guess we could invert it, make it like this. Inside reverse, do it like that. So now we have these. This thing falls like that. These are sort of side by side now. I guess we can open this up, maybe, maybe not. Can we open that up? Maybe, maybe not. If we make them both fall, they do have this thing. So what if we actually follow through on it? If we extended this, where will we land? So I guess it goes actually from one corner to some point of contact here that is already there for us. So that's a good sign, if there ever was such a thing. I guess we can apply the same thing to the other side. Goes off to the corner, we extend, this line goes down, this one goes up, and we get this. Now these two are actually side by side and it's all flat. This one actually, oh shit, that's funny. This actually tucks inside of there. That's funky, that's really weird. I wasn't expecting that. Okay, what next? I guess we have this diagonal, we can use this. Can we though? Maybe, but not so sure anymore, not so sure anymore. We do have some funny shapes, I gotta say though. This is pretty cool. Let's see, what if we inside reverse folded this, turned one way, oh, falls on there, we can extend this perhaps. This one actually does a little nice combination here, goes off to there, off to here. That's funny, right? I mean, in a way, we could start just getting a Penrose tiling. I mean, that's just sort of where one wants to go on its own, I guess. But I want to come back to where we started because I don't remember. This is interesting that we did this. No, we started with the bisection here. We started with this idea. This is not meeting corner to corner, so we don't have that diagonal available to us. But we have this, turn this back. So how would this unite to another piece though? So what? All right. So that's a bisection. So this is liable to get bisected like this. Yeah, this is nonsense now. This is completely. We'll see you later. Good night. Thank you. No, thank you for being here. This is nonsense now. This is just me improvising a thing. Yeah, this is no good. No, because then, yeah, this thing will be no good. Although it's kind of interesting in a way. I mean, we have achieved this thing that actually has two triangles of a pentagon. So that's kind of funny. But I don't think they would join very nicely. This little packing thing on top is just not. Although, in a way, I guess the advantage is that we actually have the same rectangle copied. This is the same rectangle that we started from. This rectangle is the same rectangle we started from. So I guess there is this suggestion that we could repeat the process over on this. That's pretty wild. So the thing is that in order for this to be a modular and to actually be modulatable, we would need more of these rectangles. Let's see. It's so interesting how the simplest ideas sometimes are the ones that carry the most weight. Or something like that, just the things you think are easy are just the ones that take up most of your time and effort just to try and like wrap your head around. Maybe. Does that make sense? How can something so simple be so complicated? Well, we're 47 minutes in and we only need the first 30 minutes. So we're 15 minutes overboard on something that I am not even sure I can accomplish. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm trying to sort of find a modular design because I have designed one where the idea was then to just match these two. As you can see, if we match these two corners, we actually get a pentagon by negative space. All right, so that's pretty cool. And further, we can actually fold these to the side. And, in itself, this actually might prove to be some kind of modular. The problem is that it doesn't do very well when tying in with others because it's sort of very flimsy. It looks kind of like a Basetta module, but like this will only wrap up underneath this one. So it's very easy for it to fall apart. But in a way, it is a very basic and more geometrically sound alternative to the Basetta module. I believe, perhaps, maybe not, because it doesn't tie in so well. It's not as tight. It needs an additional turn. It needs a little bit more paper there. That's my take on it. But, I guess we could from here sort of travel backwards and try and find some way to get that extra bit. Maybe just truncate this or something. I don't know. Or maybe from here we can actually, well, yeah, of course, this, just treat it as a pentagon. That'd be an interesting little idea for an Islamic pattern. Let's see what we find. So yeah, I recommend that you actually put on some music so you don't have to hear me sort of ramble. Maybe as you hear the paper crumble. As we explore this little shape, popping and locking and going back and forth. Thing is, again, I repeat, I would need to have more of these rectangles in order to be sure of the way that they interact between themselves. If it is not indeed a worthy modular, if we would need some additional, because I have successfully designed a variation that I'm satisfied with, but the problem is that it's not an easy rectangle to get to. So if I could actually find the way that inside of this rectangle I can find that other rectangle I need, then that would be great. So wait a minute, was this, and then I use this, And that off the gate is available. So we get a copy of the rum. So all the angles are all part of the pentagon, which is pretty fun. I mean, this is just like a self-similar thing, just going over and over itself once again, over and over. So I guess this is a pretty tight arrangement, and this kind of goes straight off. So maybe we can try and extend this on all layers. I don't know. I don't really know. I'm improvising, completely improvising, going off the rails, off the book. Getting a little bit too big for my bridges. These save, right? I mean, these lives do save, right? I hope, goddamn. Doing inside reverse on these. Yeah, so now it's just compounding everything I know, just throwing everything I got at it to see if it'll do something. Because we have this, which we can do an inside reverse fold on. I mean, I guess fold this back. Where are we, dude? Where are we? I don't know. I don't know anymore. Maybe I never knew. But how exactly is this something? I don't know. I don't know the answers to these very basic questions. All I know is I'm sort of just compounding and going in and going deeper, trying to apply as much as I can at the same time, but, you know, getting to some strange places. It is a fun little exercise, though. I mean, I guess, but what's an exercise without results? Well, it's lessons. It's lessons. It's just that practice, and it's good for you. And, you know, if you're lucky, if you are open-minded enough, I think that you get rewards for your patience. I think. I like to think. So again, I'm called by the fact that when we fold this, we have a regular pentagon. So that's cool. But can we compound this further? I mean, can we get somewhere that's not obvious to this? I mean, we can't just, I mean, I guess, so that's the corner, so that we can actually pull this back. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about it like that. That's interesting. Okay, let's see. Let's wonder. So the Pentagon line goes there, and this Pentagon line goes here, right? Wait, what the? No, that one goes off to there. And this one goes off to here. Okay, that makes more sense. So now we have this, we have these axes, because we can fold those back one way and the other. I guess we can tuck these even and we can put them underneath the layer there, but wait a minute before we do. So we have this, we can do this tuck, squeeze, turn, put to the side, and something's there. I mean, something always is lurking underneath. But the questions are not answered. I mean, if my point is true, I mean, we do get the same piece, so repeated over itself, right? The self-similarity situation that the pentagram has. But is there a way to fold this so that it leaves us a pocket and enough space for everything to just work together and tie together? But it also has to be easy and simple. I don't know, maybe. Does this look like a Sonobi type unit? This is what it's all meant to be. Just Sonobis forever. And even so, I mean, this doesn't really tie into there now, does it? This is more on the other side so that it's open. It's too many layers. So here's a fun little shape I'm noticing. So I guess we can just fold this in through a 3D kind of like a corrugation kind of deal. Let's see how that goes. So interesting shape, interesting shape. So now we have like these little pockets. I guess we can just fold everything down on those, just around the shapes that we outlined. I mean, it's a fun little corrugation idea, but not convinced as a thing. We have to put a pin on it somewhere. We have to stop eventually. Interesting to say the least. This was fun. I'm gonna have to go into this later, see what I come up with, if anything. And yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see if this works. We'll see what I can come up. We'll see if this just gets solved or not. And thank you for being here with me an hour. We'll try and do these more often. We'll try and do them bilingual. It's more in Spanish, more in English, more of both, more of everything. Trying to keep a good vibe going on, try some positive energy out into the world. And yeah, while we can, right? While we can. So again, appreciate it. Thank you. Check out other things on the YouTube channel, Patreon, Instagram. Yeah, take care, you guys. I'll see you around. Be good. Stay good. Thank you.